One sort of two things, the big things that I've learned that have helped take my business from a little over 150,000, 160,000 per year to about 2.9 million per year, just in one business, and I own a few businesses. Hey, what's up, you guys? This is my first YouTube video. I'm super excited to be doing this. I'm actually doing this video because I was at a Grant Cardone boot camp. And this is the workbook they give you at the boot camp, and I'll show you my name tag just so you guys know I was there as well. And Grant said that one of the biggest ways that he actually gets new clients is not from running ads and whatnot. It's actually through YouTube videos. So that's my name tag. I like to keep my last name anonymous, at least for now. I went to the executive boot camp, the business boot camp executive ticket, cheapest ticket they had, only $1,000. But I learned so much there, and I've given Grant about $9,000 so far. I've given him more, but I've gone through $9,000 worth of training. I'm doing the Finance Essentials Workshop, which is $5,000. I have not gone to that yet. The next Finance Essential Workshop, I believe, is in June. I'll be at that one. So I've really given them, and then I'm going to GrowthCon in 2 days, which I got a VIP ticket, which was $2,000. I got that on sale. So I saved like a little bit of money, but I paid $2,000 for that ticket. I'll give you guys an update on that as well. But I've given Grant probably around $15,000, but I've gone through $9,000 worth of training so far. So I don't want to clickbait you guys and say, this is what I learned from giving Grant $15,000, because I've only been through about $9,000 of his training so far. Maybe 10, but regardless, let's just say $9,000. It's a safe thing. But today, the goal of this video today is literally to pull back the curtains and to show you guys exactly the one sort of two things, the big things that I've learned that have helped take my business from a little over 150,000, 160,000 per year to about 2.9 million per year, just in one business, and I own a few businesses. So my goal today is to show you guys a couple of those big things that have helped my business tremendously. That's my goal for this video today. So the two big things I learned the most would be have a bigger think, right? Think big. And then compress time, right? Just shrink time up, because the biggest issue I was having in my business was I was having the issue of I was taking too long to do things that could have been done in half the amount of time or less. I was taking way longer to do them than need be. And then also thinking bigger. So we're going to dig a little bit into those two things. Those two things, I know it sounds very basic on the surface level, right? When I just say those two things. Well, no kidding. Yeah, of course, those are things that help your business grow. Of course, right? No kidding. However, it goes deeper into that, right? It's not just, think bigger and compress time. There's a lot that goes into that, but I want to share all that stuff with you guys, and hopefully you guys can learn a little bit from that as well, and then implement that into your business as well. One-click disclaimer, this video was inspired by Alex Hormozi. If you have not seen his channel, make sure to go watch his channel. I've been binge watching a little bit of his stuff in the car when I'm on the way to the office or doing whatever. I've been watching his videos. I'm telling you guys, I've given 6 figures into online courses, mentorship, master classes, all sorts of stuff. I've put 6 figures into training and, learning business information. And I'm telling you guys, just literally binge watch every single one of his videos. You will learn as much for free. So this video was inspired by him. I think he's giving Grant like $100,000 or something crazy like that. I'm not there yet, but I figured I could kind of give you guys a little bit of information that I paid for. So one of the things that Grant helped me realize over time, over probably the past 2 years, is that I can hit my goals, right? Especially now. I am crystal clear. I've done the goal sheets. I've done all that stuff. I know exactly what I have to do in order to hit my targets, right? Hit my revenue, hit my expansion plan, everything. I know exactly what I have to do step by step, which if you guys don't, I highly recommend doing a goal sheet or something, all right? Get crystal clear on your goals. That's the first thing you guys should do. And that's what I did. And that was something that I learned from Cardone Ventures, Brandon Dawson, was, the goal sheet, right? And I have another coach, Brandon Gadores, who helped me with that a lot. But here's the thing. Once you're crystal clear on your goals and you realize that you can hit them, the problem is you're stuck with this long timeline, right? So I knew I could go from about 2 million to 100 million. I know I can do it. I'm positive as can be that I can do it. I know I can. However, the problem is there's about a 30-year gap in between 2 million and 100 million, realistically, right? Sped up, maybe 20. However, I wanted to achieve those goals, those insane goals, but I didn't want to wait the 30 years. So what Grant helped me realize is that literally the only thing in between where I am now and where I want to be is 30 years. There's time. That's the one thing that I have to figure out. I've got everything else figured out. I've got the blueprint. I know how to do it. Time is the only thing holding me back from getting that done in 5 years or 10 years instead of 30 years. Which sounds simple, but we're going to dig into it a little bit more here. So working this equation backwards, if time's the only problem, what do you have to do? You have to eliminate time. So how do you eliminate time? One, stop being cheap, which is the small thing, which we're going to get into in a minute, right? But when it comes to compressing time and eliminating time, what are you doing currently that you don't have to do? Kind of high input, low output stuff. That's what I talk about a lot, right? That's one of the big things that I focus on. What can I outsource? Payroll, can I outsource, graphic? I used to do the landing pages and all that stuff. If I can have someone come on board for cheap or give them a percentage of the sale or whatever, if you guys can't afford to pay them hourly or on salary or whatever, like what can you guys do to help have to lighten your load up a little bit, right? So that you don't have to do all that stuff. Stuff that's high input, that takes a ton of time, but has to get done. High input, low output, but you don't have to be doing it. See what I'm saying here? Right? This kind of goes into like some Sam Ovens stuff as well, if you've ever seen any of his stuff or been through his training. High input, low output. Eliminate that stuff. That's the number one way to get your time back. Because at the end of the day, there are certain things I have to do as the business owner, right? I've got a list of things that I have to do. What can I do? But there's a lot of stuff I don't have to do. So what can I do to have people come on board? I don't need to be doing graphic stuff. I don't need to be doing social media stuff. Obviously, in like this case, I have to do content, right? But if I don't have to be doing content, like if I only have to film it, I shouldn't be editing it. I shouldn't be posting it. I shouldn't be doing any of that stuff because that's high input, but that's low output, right? I can pay someone money, right? I can pay them money so that I don't have to do that. But then I've got a bunch of my time back so I can focus on getting new clients, right? One of my big things that we do to bring people into the business is we do PR, right? We get businesses on the news, Fox, CNBC, Digital Journal, MarkWatch, hundreds more, right? And radio and newspaper and podcasts. We get businesses on all sorts of stuff. And if you guys are interested in that, RockwellPRwebinar.com, Rockwell PR, like the letters, webinar.com. You can watch a free webinar on how we get businesses on the news, right? And how we can get your business on the news as well. I can focus my time on sales guys who are getting leads and qualifying leads and whatnot. If they need a little bit of help closing those deals, I can come in there, right? But then that's even the small thing there, which we're going to get into in a minute, but it sounds so simple, but it's so complex. And I'm still figuring it out and I'm trying to pay to figure it out. But like, I still don't even completely have it figured out on my end. But it's having people do work that you don't have to do, right? So like I'm even trying to find like someone who can help my sales guys, like a team captain, if you will, who can help my sales guys close some of the deals that they're having trouble closing so that I don't have to do that, right? So that I can get my time back so I can focus on doing other services. Because my business also builds out automated subscription-based platforms. So we help businesses compete with like Walmart and Amazon, right? By billing their customers monthly instead of just a one-time. Like a pet store, if someone walks in, right? We get them signed up so that that pet store can ship the food to their house every month and they bill the customer every month, that sort of thing, right? I can get my time back to where I'm focusing on getting those high-end clients, the clients that are going to pay us 50, 100 grand a year. See what I'm saying? Instead of me building out landing pages, instead of me doing email stuff. Right? That's not where my time is best suited, right? Or figuring out how we can get more revenue out of our current clients. How bringing advertising people on to help scale ads and do all that fun stuff to get new leads. What can I do to remove myself from everything that I don't have to be doing? That's one of the biggest things that Grant's taught me and something that I think you guys can benefit a lot from learning as well. Another big thing is like in that compressing time is making excuses. I used to make excuses and I used to procrastinate. So Grant didn't really teach me how to get out of procrastinating, but one of the big things that I've learned is that like if you're saying, oh, I'll do it later, don't. Stop it right there and do it. So like if I was ever like, oh, I'll make that call in a minute, right? I gotta go do something else first. Don't. If it's on your mind, do it. Like just get it done with. Because here's the problem. If you say, oh, I'll do it later, you're not gonna do it later. You're still going to have to do it later. You're still going to have to do it later. And then it's on the back of your mind. It's on the whiteboard. It's on your to-do list. It's on wherever. And then next thing you know, you've got 40 things on your to-do list. And that's what causes stress. And then that's when you get anxious. And that's when, and that slows the business down, right? Because you got your mind on all this, oh, I've got to do instead of just knocking it out then. So that's how I overcame procrastination, right? And not making those stupid excuses. Like, don't make excuses. Excuses are keeping you back from everything you've ever wanted in life, right? Excuses are literally keeping you back from the house, the car, the girl, the whatever it is. Anything you want to achieve, the revenue goal, the business, selling the business, whatever it is. Excuses are the only thing keeping you back from everything you've ever wanted. The Lambo, that whatever. So when I shifted my mindset to that, and I said, okay, I am 110% in control of this, right? If I keep saying, oh, I'm gonna get to it, right? I'm gonna finish the book, I'm gonna whatever, right? All of that stuff, I'm gonna finish the webinar, right? Every time I said that, I was literally pushing everything back. The next restaurant, the next car, right? The next helping my mom pay off the house, all of that stuff. I was pushing that back versus achieving those goals. Next, you got to stay in it, okay? Stay in the business, stay in the game, stay in the ecosystem, whatever it is, okay? Stay in the office, stay on top of the guys, the girls, the whatever. Stay on top of everybody. Be in the ecosystem. Don't be the, in the office doing your own thing. Make sure the sales guys are doing what they're doing. Like, you've got them on board for a reason, but make sure everybody's getting done what they need to be getting done. Stay in it. Don't be looking at from a view. Like, still be in it. Like, still help them out with their calls if need be. You should have like a sales manager, which I'm figuring out right now, right? I'm not perfect. I'm still learning all this, and I'm hoping, we can learn it together. However, I still need to be present, right? I can't, there shouldn't be anything, like even the graphics people. I hate graphics. I'm not good at graphics. I don't want to be doing graphics. However, here's the thing. I still need to be present. I still need to be checking in and whatnot. So that's one of the things with as far as compressing time. You just can't compress time to where you're too passive, because then oftentimes stuff won't get done unless you've got a really good, like, let's say general manager or whatnot, which I just don't have in the business yet. Hopefully within the next year I'll have someone who can kind of oversee things, almost like a CEO or something like that, someone who can overlook different departments or something for me. However, I'm just not there yet. But still being not being absent, but being distant, but still be in it. That's another big thing I took away from a lot of the stuff I've learned from Grant. And then another thing was massive action. So, and all the stuff like Grant talks about on TikTok, YouTube, like you can learn a lot of the stuff for free, okay? But with massive action, it's like just hit it, dude. Like if you have to work 14-hour days, work 14-hour days. Like my calendar's open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and that's not the entire workday for me, right? I'm going hard for the next 5 to 10 years, and then I don't plan to work a day after that, right? But massive action to hit those goals. If you are trying to compress time, like time isn't just going to compress itself. You have to compress the time. So bring a bunch of people in, but also you have to have massive action on your end. Because when you bring people in, you're gaining your time back, right? You have to focus on the more important things with all that time. And then once you've discovered those important things, and now that you have the time to focus on those important things, you have to put massive action into those things, right? You can have a gazillion goals. You're never even going to get close to achieving them without massive action. So, giving up the partying, giving up the girls, giving up this, the that, the next, going out with the buddies, whatever. Like, give that up for the next 5 or 10 years and then never work again. Like that's one of the big things I viewed from this, right? Massive action. Grant's become a billionaire and a multi-billionaire, I'm sure, in a very short period of time because of massive action and all other things like attention and whatnot, but that's for another video, right? Massive action. Like if you don't do anything else, this is something like Grant talks about. Like if you want to close more deals on the phone, but you don't want to, you don't want to invest in sales training, you don't want this, that, the next. The first thing to do is to make more calls. Massive action, guys. Like no matter what, like I am going to be more productive. If I do nothing else but I take massive action, my productivity will go through the roof. Right? And also, like if you're sitting at the desk, a lot of people, they work 8 hours a day. 8 hours probably isn't enough. But let's say you're good, dedicate 10 hours a day. Sitting at your desk is not, just because you sit at your desk for 10 hours a day does not mean you work 10 hours a day. That's another thing, right? Like how many hours, like do a time log. Like if you're sitting at the desk for 10 hours, how much work are you getting done in that 10 hours? If you're only getting 2 hours of work done, you're not working 10 hours. You're working 2 hours. You're sitting there for 10 hours, but you get distracted. You go on Car Gurus, you go on Instagram, you go on whatever you're going on. See what I'm saying here, guys? all of a sudden you're not working 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, here's the problem. If you manipulate your hours or you pad your hours or whatever, if you work for an employee, yeah, pad your hours. Right? If you're an employee and you work for an employer, pad your hours, right? Of course. Like if you can get away with working 4 hours a day and getting paid for 8, do it, right? Of course, no kidding. However, as a business owner, you're not hurting an employer. You're hurting yourself. There's only one person you can hurt. It's yourself by padding your hours. So don't pad your hours. You cannot pad your hours. If you sit down for 8 hours, you need to be getting 8 hours worth of work done. You need to be doing important stuff for that 8 hours. Don't just be doing graphics. Don't be doing this, that, the next. That stuff you can outsource in that compressing time. So massive action, guys. If you need to be doing what no one else is doing, right? You're not going to get what everybody else doesn't have by not doing what they won't do, right? Like you have to do what they won't do in order to get more than everybody else. But massive action is the best way to do that and the fastest way to do that. Right? It's not even hiring other people. It's not whatever. It's massive action. That's going to compress time the most. But also bringing other people on board to do tasks that you don't need to be doing. You combine those two, you're in a really good situation. And that's helped my business significantly. So another huge thing that I learned at the boot camp was I learned about social media. Grant, I was shocked. I was sitting there shocked. One of the cool things about the boot camp, I highly recommend it. If you ever have the chance to go, highly recommend it. They do a few of them a year, I think. And I'm gonna go to more of them. I know that. Grant pulled up like his YouTube statistics, his website analytics. Like he pulled up a ton of stuff. And something I thought was really cool about that is that you get to see the numbers and everything. And they were talking about him and his team. They were sitting there and they were like, "You have no clue like how much of our revenue comes from like YouTube." It's shocking because they funnel people into webinars, landing pages, workshops, courses, whatever it is. And I don't have any courses or anything, but he funnels people into that stuff, and then there's this huge ecosystem. So that's like the top of the funnel. Then they get you to go to an event. Then they get you to go to the workshops, like the $5,000 workshops or something. Then they get you into 360, which is like a $40,000 workshop. Then they try to take over half your business with Cardone Ventures, and then they try to get you in Cardone Capital and the real estate fund. But it all starts from YouTube. That's where a lot of their attention comes from. And Grant was talking about like if you're not going to run ads, like you need to be on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and even if you are running ads, you still need to be doing that because organic is so important. And I never quite realized how important it was. I mean, I saw other people doing it, but I never decided to take massive action. And it's taken a while for me to do it. Right, the workshop was late January, and now it's late March. However, I mean, I've had a lot going on since then, but. All excuses, right? Again, going back to not making excuses. But now I'm pounding out hopefully at least 3 videos a week, 3 to 5 videos a week I plan on putting out. At least 3. So, but here's the thing. Then, again, being fully transparent, if someone wants to get their business on the news, right? RockwellPRwebinar.com. And hopefully they'll watch the webinar and then maybe they'll do business with us or they'll do it on their own or whatever, right? But it's a way of getting more traffic. And also I can kind of get back to everybody at the same time, which is what Grant does as well. He gives you, 40 years of business experience for free online, which is awesome as well. So hopefully I can give you guys a little bit of my experience for free as well. Another thing I learned from Grant was literally just raising your goals for no reason, essentially, right? Like if your goal, like the whole 10x thing, if it's like if your goal is to hit $1 million a year, or if you're at $1 million a year, make the new goal 10 million a year, right? 10x everything. I didn't realize. Now there's a couple things because like Brandon Dawson with Cardone Ventures, he talks about a lot. He talks a lot about like having a good margin. Like sometimes bigger isn't always better. Which is important to note as well. However, in general, just being bigger in general, having those bigger goals, just setting bigger goals is going to help you hit bigger targets. So, I mean, that's a huge thing I've taken away as well, is just literally raising my targets for no reason. And that, I mean, raising targets and making sure I hit them by any means necessary through massive action. That's how I end up, that's how I'm planning on compressing that 30 years into the next 5 or 10. Another thing I've learned from Grant is that it's always easier when it's bigger, right? The bigger it gets, the easier it gets. So, and that you'd rather have a bigger piece or a smaller piece of a bigger pie. For example, like Grant, he would rather, do Cardone Capital and own 5% of Cardone Capital that controls $5 billion worth of real estate. He'd rather do that than own $200 million worth of real estate on his own. Right? Same thing with like in the restaurant business, right? Which I'm a part of also. Like It's easier to run 10 restaurants than it is one restaurant because you have a GM of each store, and then the GM's gonna go to, like an operations president, and that operations president is going to be essentially you, and it's easier to run 10 stores because you've got the money to put more people in place. So you're just overseeing a big operation compared to kind of being in the nitty gritty. So that's why my goal is to have 100 restaurants. Start with one. The next two are fully funded, but $4.5 million deals. That's the goal, right? You don't want one restaurant. One restaurant's a pain in the rear end. However, 100 restaurants is a lot easier to run than one restaurant, which is nutty to think about. And Grant always talks about that, right? Like he'd rather sell off half of his company, or like Cardone Ventures, right? He only owns half of Cardone Ventures. Brandon Dawson owns the other half. Why? Because Brandon Dawson does a lot of the freaking work for it. So instead of Grant having to spend all this time and all this whatever, he gave half the equity to someone else, but they're doing a lot of the work. So that's also sparked the interest of, would I ever sell part of my business to Cardone Ventures, or would I ever, do stuff like that? I don't know. I really don't know yet. But I have thought about, for the first time, bringing on money from the outside for this business. I've done it for other businesses before, but I'm starting to think about doing that for this business, just because it might help me hit my goals even faster, bringing in external money so that I can kind of have a smaller piece of a much bigger pie. I'm looking at my notes, and it says go backwards to go forwards. So what I meant by that is spend or receive. So go backwards to go forwards. It's worth writing the check to get the bigger office, to get the this, the that, the next. Invest the money into training. Invest the money into bringing more people on board, because at the end, that's it's going to help you. It's going to be beneficial, right? So getting the office might attract bigger clients. Getting the bigger office, right? I'm in the process of upgrading an office right now, and also June 1st, I'm moving to the 11th floor of the building from the 2nd floor, right? Huge financial decision, right? But hopefully bigger businesses will take me more seriously, so I can start closing 7-figure single deals compared to, multi 5-figure deals. So if I can go from, if I'm taken more seriously by being in a nicer office, it's worth fronting the money up front or bringing more people on board, right? It's worth fronting that money. Spend the money now. Go backwards. If you've got, $500,000 in an account, spend that $500,000 on the business, and $2 million might come back. That's the idea of that, right? And if you do it right, $2 million should come back. Or, Grant's thing is spend $500,000, $5 million will come back, 10x. But reinvesting into the business, that's essentially what that is. And I've had to overcome some of that because I had built up quite a bit of cash reserves that I've drained a lot of now. But I've invested that into the business, and now the revenue of the business is going up a lot. That business will make probably another 10 grand this month than it did last month. Maybe more than that. So just based on current projections, it will do that. And hopefully it will go even bigger than that. But that's the idea of, I had to invest, another 100 grand into the business for it to do that. And hopefully we'll get to the point where the business is making another 100 grand a month from where it was. So do you guys see what I'm saying here? That's a big thing I've learned from Grant, is that I've also learned that everyone contributes. So, if you hire a social media person who's going to post on social media, or you hire a graphic person, or you hire whatever. I never liked hiring graphics people because I never thought they contributed that much. But at the end of the day, it's freeing up my time, which is worth more than money, because I value my time a lot more than I value my money. So do you guys see what I'm saying here? Everyone contributes. And you have to write that check today, but hopefully the money will come back tenfold tomorrow. Or, tomorrow, within the next year, or 2 years, or 5 years, whatever. But it's the idea of, a lot of people watch this stuff and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to get a 20% return on my Apple stock or whatever. Well, what if, so you put 100 grand into Apple and 120 comes back in a year? Well, what if you could put 100 grand into your business and 400 grand comes back next year? That's the same idea of that, right? The biggest investments I've ever made haven't been in biotech stocks or, stocks that have 5x. The biggest returns I've ever made were probably investing in my education, learning from people who have done what I want to do, and then learning how to compress time and go bigger. which Grant's helped me tremendously with. There's also other people I can credit some of that success to, and we'll talk about that in other videos, but these are the main things I've learned from Grant. And I spent a substantial amount of money just to learn this stuff. I've given him more money, but just to learn this stuff, I've spent a solid $9,000, maybe 10. And, I've got the Cardone Ventures Finance Essentials Workshop that I'm going to be going to in, I believe, June or July. I think it's June, though. That was a $5,000 2-day event that I'll be going to, and I can share with you guys a little bit that I learned from there. They're going to dig into my finances for my business and help me see, what I can cut back on, what I should be throwing more money into, and all that stuff. That should be super beneficial, and I'll share with you guys what they helped me discover for my business for that. Also, GrowthCon. I'll probably do a GrowthCon recap. They didn't announce the speakers this year, but I got VIP ticket, $2,000. My hotel was $300 a night for 5 nights, so about $1,500 there. So that's $3,500, and then I got a good deal on my flight. I paid like $470 or something like that for my flight. So I'm about $4,000 in with no Uber, no food, no entertainment down there. So I'm easily $4,000 in. It'll probably end up being at least $4,500 to go to GrowthCon for those 3 days. 3 days of actual GrowthCon events, 5 days total. But I'll let you guys know some of the stuff I learned from GrowthCon as well. And this is what I've learned from so far, going through $9,000 worth of stuff from Grant Cardone. The big things, I've learned a lot more in there, and maybe I'll touch on some of that in future videos. Make sure to subscribe. I also should have I think t-shirts down there or something like that. I think we have. And then also RockwellPRwebinar.com if you want to get your business on the news so you can forever advertise as seen on. And then big logos like Fox, CNBC, Digital Journal, MarketWatch builds major trust and credibility with prospects, people that click on your website. It makes you look like an industry leader, an authority figure, an expert in your field. We did a study that showed that our clients, people that have done business with us, they're overnight, the average over all industries, 19%. Isn't that nuts? 19% their conversion rate can increase. 19%. Isn't that nuts? So if you guys are running ads or you guys are funneling people in from wherever to a website or a landing page, you guys are literally losing money by not having this. So Rockwell, ROCKWELL, letter P, letter R, webinar.com, RockwellPRwebinar.com, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Make sure to subscribe for more.